Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the SANDTON Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Let's do it all again. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, this is the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and also available on all good podcast platforms. I'm Alexander and this is edition 125. It's week 31 of 2023 and it's one last time for July and then we're well into August and 1 month closer to the warmer months. I'm excited to be with you once more, and if you would like to get in touch, you can do so. Ask your questions, your comments, your feedback, all of those good things by emailing editor@sandtontimes.co.za, connecting on social media @SANDTON Times, and also visiting the websites www.sandtontimes.co.za. And if you're listening live on Mix 93.8 and not on the podcast, well, the WhatsApp line is open. You can use that on 0848 220938. 0848 220938. And it's always nice to get your feedback, your comments, your thoughts, whichever way they go. Let me tell you. A special welcome to everyone listening in Johannesburg and Pretoria, as well as wherever you are in South Africa or anywhere else in the world. I know we've got listeners all over England, Australia, Qatar, the United States, Greece, Portugal. It's so good to hear from you, and it's good to have you tuning in. I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandton land. And Vincenzo, good to have you back in studio again, behind the mixing desk, looking after all the things audio. Dean, it's another cold week, huh? Another cold front hitting us in Greater Sandton, wherever it's coming from. And I hope you're staying warm, and I hope the lights are on and you're able to listen to this. I've seen more and more people listening to the show either on streaming or on some digital audio platform, because obviously when the power goes out, you can't listen to it on the TV, you can't listen to it on the radio necessarily. But if you're in the car, I'm glad you're joining us. Welcome. Well done to the Springboks for their victory this past weekend, and let's hope we keep it all together. I think it's just over a month to the Rugby World Cup in France, and I'm sure things are going to get very exciting around that. And it's been another busy week on the SANDTON Times front with events and work. I must say, one of the things I've really been enjoying this week is that I'm busy test driving the new BMW i7. It's a fully electric car, which is the first fully electric vehicle that I've driven in that particular class. But this thing is like a spaceship, hey? It is just something else. I mean, buttons galore, doors that open by themselves. A full reclining seat. You know, like those business class seats you get on an airplane wherever you fly? This has got one of those, like in the back seat. And then a TV screen that folds down from the roof. I mean, it is just something else, hey? Unreal. I'm having a lot of fun driving this. Also getting used to the fact that I'm always looking at the petrol gauge, and there isn't a petrol gauge. You actually have to look at your battery life. It's a bit like looking at your smartphone. Yeah, so I'm going to be telling you more about that at some point, because it's just been so much to try and process, but a very interesting ride. I headed over to the Leonardo to see what's happening there. Very interesting developments, and I think some big announcements happening there before the end of the year with some interesting new attractions and features. Then Zaro, they launched a new fragrance at Summer Place, which is divine. And I know that there's more fragrance launches happening in the build-up to December, so I'll keep you posted on that. Then there's been some shopping centres that had a relaunch and that are under construction, and some new things happening there, but we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on in the show. And then lastly, there's a new lifestyle estate that is opening on the Crocodile River, overlooking the Kruger National Park. I had the pleasure of joining them for that announcement, and let me tell you, also just absolutely gorgeous. But let's get into this week's show. So coming up on the show, have you ever read the labels on the back of the food that you buy? Or, have you really tried to read it? Some of it is just almost, you have to decipher it. It's like hieroglyphs in the pyramids in Egypt. But a new effort to have changes made to warning labels on our food is underway, and I will be finding out a little bit more about this. Then the Netball World Cup 2023 is underway in Cape Town this week, and I see our ladies had a great start to that. And there's a chance that you could be part of the fun right here in Gauteng, and I'll be sharing some more details on that. Then after that, we take a look at two shopping centres in Sandton, as promised, that are getting a nip and a tuck, and there's a bit of a preview of what is to come, so stay tuned. And finally, If you or your elderly parents are ready to change their address and take things a little bit easier, well, there's a new development in Sandown which might just do the trick. This and more is coming up shortly, but let's dive headfirst into this week's show with our first track for the hour right here on the SANTON Times Hour.
Promote your brand. Advertise your business.
Our audience could be your next client. Contact the SANTON Times today.
The latest news.
The biggest names.
The best destinations.
The hottest entertainment. This is the SANTON Times Hour.
This is the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 with Loud Luxury featuring Morgan St. John and Aftertaste. Great track. It's time for a quick look at your headlines for this week. Well, did you see this story? News 24 reports the SA Revenue Services, better known as SARS, well, they've won a case to dismiss an employee who took time off work, claiming to be sick, only to be seen on TV by his bosses at an EFF protest at the Clicks in Sandton. Now, how awkward is that? When he returned to work, so the story goes, his supervisor asked him why he had seen him on television participating in an EFF march when he had been off sick, supposedly. And he then told his supervisor that while he did feel sick at the start of the day, he felt better after taking some medication. Must have been some hell of a medication to be then dancing outside of Clicks later that day. But isn't that the way of the world these days? I mean, you can't get away with doing anything. I mean, never mind being on TV. But with social media, I mean, they could have probably even seen him on TikTok or Facebook or any of these things. So anyway, so he's now subsequently lost his job due to that. And I'm sure there's tons of stories that you could probably share of very similar awkward incidences. Then IOL reports Liberty Group, part of the Standard Bank Group, intends to buy out the minority shareholders in Liberty 2 Degrees and then delist the group that owns some of the most iconic properties in the country. Liberty 2 Degrees has an 8.2 billion rand portfolio, which includes Sandton City, Midlands Mall, Eastgate Complex, Nelson Mandela Square, Melrose Arch, and the Sandton Sun Hotel. And Vincenzo, I think we need to actually get someone on the show to chat about that, because that's quite a big story and quite some big movement happening there in Sandton. Then Times Live reports Kaizer Chiefs launched their new Kappa jersey for the 2023-2024 season at a function at the Galleria Conference Centre in Sandton. And then also Orlando Pirates launched their 2023-2024 home and away jerseys designed by fashion designer Tebe Magugu at Nelson Mandela Square. And finally, in international boxing heavyweight Floyd Mayweather, we did tell you that he was coming to Sandton. We did reach out to the promoter, to Floyd, to everybody. And let's just say we're waiting for our time in the ring. But he was here. He was spotted at a nail bar in Sandton City. And he was also seen spending a small fortune at Gucci on the Diamond Walk in Sandton, I believe. And then you know who else was in town? Here's something that possibly not many people know. Michael Kors, he was spotted, I believe, in Sandton City as well, visiting his own store. He kind of popped in. How cool is that? Well, a busy week in Sandton, but let's leave it right there. Ever wonder what goes into your food? Or have you ever tried to decipher what it says on those food labels? Well, a health movement is rallying government to put additional labels on the front of food packaging to highlight all those things that might not be that good for us and make food labeling a little bit clearer and a little bit more transparent. I'm joined by Zukiswa Zimela, Communications Manager of the Healthy Living Alliance, right after the break.
Connect with the SANTON Times. Email editor@santontimes.co.za. The best of talk and music in 1 hour. This is the SANTON Times Hour.
This is the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and available on all good podcast platforms wherever you are in the world. As we get the hour going for this week, I'm interested to be chatting about this next topic. It's something that I find quite fascinating, but it was also triggered by an activation, a campaign that was run just outside of the SANTON Gautrain station. And if you use the Gautrain on a regular or irregular basis, but you were there in the past week, you would have seen sort of a collection of wire figurines structured around the entrance to the Gautrain, and it was filled with a whole bunch of boxes. And you might have thought, what's going on here? Well, here to chat to me about this particular initiative is Zukiswa Zimela. She's the communications manager of an organization called the Healthy Living Alliance, short HEALA. And Zukiswa, tell me a little bit more about this activation that you guys had going here at the Gautrain station.
The event that we've stationed outside the Gautrain station is an extension of something that we've been doing for a while now, which is a question, that I think we all need answered, that what is in our food? Oftentimes we buy food and we assume that it's healthy or good for us, but unfortunately we don't have a clear picture of what actually is in our foods. And a lot of times some of this or most of these ultra processed foods contain harmful ingredients that can be very dangerous for our health. So things like too much salt, too much sugar, saturated fats, etc.
Yeah, I hear you. Somebody who enjoys cooking, somebody who has taken the time to actually turn the boxes and the labeling around and actually having a read through what's in some of our food. It's enough to give you sleepless nights in some instances. And I know a lot of people often think that if it's got a picture of a field on the box, or if it's showing some sort of healthy inclination with berries or something, then it must be good for you. And it's quite the contrary. There's a public deadline that came up on the 21st of July, a new government draft regulation. And I believe that a lot of this initiative that you've been driving has been to get government to reconsider how the labeling on these products is done and what is put on those labels.
Definitely. And I have to say that you're probably one of the few people who actually can understand those back of pack labels. I think for most of us, unless we're dietitians or we've been trained to read the back of labels, it sounds like Greek. So we can get duped, so to speak, by those berries and by those health claims that things are high in fibers or good for us. But to get back to your question, what we're proposing and what we're supporting the National Department of Health is front of pack warning labels. So instead of these complicated back of pack per 100 grams of glycemic something that we don't understand, is simple, easy to understand front of pack warning labels that will give people enough information to make better decisions for themselves. So these labels will be placed in front of any food that is above a certain threshold and contains over the recommended levels of salt, sugar, and saturated fats. And these will be in the form of triangles with a background, and they will be simply state high in. I think for many people who are low in nutritional literacy, this will be a very easy and quick way to identify foods that we, should limit or avoid altogether.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in terms of these warning labels, I mean, this has been a situation where either the industry has the opportunity to regulate itself, which we've seen with the alcohol industry, and there's probably been a couple of other industries, maybe even the gambling industry, where there's been certain levels of self-regulation, or you end up having to be regulated if the feeling is there that it's not enough.
Definitely. And I mean, I think, a lot of the work that we do, the advocacy work that we do is based on research. So we believe in evidence-based, research-based regulations. It's not things that we just pull out of the air. And we found a lot of the times when, governments put it to industries that they can, partake in voluntary regulations, it's often not strong enough and not as effective as it potentially could be. So I think the time has come now that the government is seeing that the level of non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension are staggering, and they are costing us as individuals and even the country too much in terms of loss of productivity, the cost of ill health, etc. So it's come to this point, and I think it's time. It would be really unfortunate if we miss this opportunity to not enforce these regulations, which are life-saving in a way.
Does this only apply to products that are bought in a supermarket, or does this also then apply to sort of convenience food, takeaways, anything else that you sort of pick up? Because a lot of people will say, I don't have the time to cook. I'll just pop into a shop and just, pick up some noodles or burgers or whatever else.
So at this point, it's not restaurant food. It hasn't reached that point, but it's mostly packaged foods that you would buy at the supermarket. So things like, biscuits, things like, noodles, or anything that you'd buy in packaged forms would contain a level. I think it's interesting to note that, a research done in 2014 in the Western Cape found that over 80% of the food that we find in our shelves are either processed or ultra processed. So the environment itself is quite, doesn't lend itself to much, alternatives. And so we're hoping that these regulations will kind of facilitate even a slight change in making people be aware of what they're eating. And hopefully, we can change things to make healthier food more readily available instead of the 80% that's ultra processed.
Will this translate into the advertising as well? I mean, will advertising like television ads or billboards then also be required to have these sort of warning labels?
So one of the things that we're also really excited about is that any food that is found to be, contain a warning label, the manufacturers won't be able to market to children. So it won't be, it can't feature a sports star. So that's something that we're really excited about, because I think children are the most vulnerable and they're most impressionable when it comes to a lot of these foods. The other thing is that any food that contains a warning label won't be able to make a nutritional claim. So, in some ways we are taken in by those images of fields and stuff like that, and high in fats. We call this the health halo. So any food that has a nutritional claim is surrounded by this, halo of healthfulness. And often cases it's not true. So with this regulation, I think it will allow people to have a fairer chance in actually choosing foods that are good for them. I think in the engagements that we've had particularly is that we've seen a lot of people who want to make a good life decision opt for orange juice, for example, 100% fruit juice to be healthier. But oftentimes we found that the fruit juices are even higher in sugar than the pops and the sodas that are on the shelves. So things like that, I think, will give people back their power and will make it easier for us, just to decide for ourselves and to be aware of some of the dangers that the food that we're eating poses to our health.
The 21st July deadline has obviously passed. So what happens now?
So currently we're waiting for the government to, review the process. I think the due date of implementation was 2025. But we know, Alex, that things don't often go as planned. And so what we're doing is just continuing passing the message and putting pressure on the NDOH to ensure that this regulation is not watered down. Because I think what happens oftentimes or sometimes is that with lobbying and things like that, certain things are removed. And we think, it needs to pass in its strongest form to have the best chance of making a difference. So we have, our foot on the ground, our eyes and ears are open, and we're going to hold the department accountable, and we'll try and protect this regulation as much as possible.
Well, there you have it. Interesting activation and an interesting initiative there. Zukiswa Zimela, Communications Manager for the Healthy Living Alliance, looking at what's in our food and also potentially warning us about what's going to be in our food. And hopefully it'll help people make better decisions. But we'll hear more about it as it unfolds. It's the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick musical break and more of the SANDTON Times Hour right after this.
For more?
The SANDTON Times Hour continues.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and available on all good podcast platforms. And that was Adelan with Ole, a very fitting song as we move into the second half of the SANDTON Times Hour. My name is Alexander Leibner, and you know how this works if you listen regularly. If there's anything that you heard on the show that sounded interesting, that you wanted to get more information on, well, you can go onto the sandtontimes.co.za. All the information will be up on the show notes. So you look up this week's show notes, and you'll have a breakdown of everything you need to know, including the interviews we did in the first half, interviews that we did in the second half, and so much more. Also, be sure to check out the SANDTON Times on all the different social media accounts, be it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, I mean, you pick one, we're on all of them. And you can also check out hashtag SANTON Times HOUR. Now, as I speak to you right now, our ladies are representing us at the Netball World Cup 2023, which is taking place in Cape Town as we speak until the August 6th. And it's the first time that this event is taking place on the African continent. 16 teams are battling it out across 10 days in the hope that they will be crowned champions of netball's most prestigious event. And here to chat to me about this and also a way that you can get involved and that you can be part of this event, even though it's in Cape Town, it's Retha Ingenbleek. She's from SPAR. Retha, I believe you've got a Netball World Cup fan park happening in Gauteng. Is that right?
Yes, I think we're one of the only fan parks that's actually happening in Gauteng. And so we wanted to bring the World Cup to Gauteng a bit. We don't want to lose out.
Absolutely not. I mean, Cape Town's a hard one to beat, but if you can't beat them, join them. And we're going to be joining them at the Supersport Park on the 6th of August. You've got a big day lined up. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we're very fortunate that on the 6th of August, all the finals will take place. That is position 7 and 8, 5 and 6, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2. So we are going to be open for position 8 to position 3. The 1 and 2, if South Africa plays, will definitely extend the fan park, but up to 6 o'clock, it is position 3, and we want South Africa and Gauteng to be part, celebrating, supporting our netball goals.
Okay, fantastic. So it's open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. As you said, if things change, it could the times could change as well. It's 20 Rand a ticket for people to attend, and it's limited to 20,000 entries. So if you haven't got a ticket, 20,000, and then that's it.
Yes, that's the reason why we actually put tickets out there, is to limit, because obviously we feel that once South Africa has got a positional play they are playing for, then obviously we all want to support them. So we also just want to make sure we got a safe crowd control, and then obviously we've got a lot of exciting things happening here as well.
Tell me about that. What else is happening? I mean, apart from watching the games, which is what everyone wants to do, what other entertainment have you got lined up?
Yeah, so we've got a few entertainers. We've got Demi Limua, we've got Lofi, and we've got a few DJs as well that's going to play. We've got activations where people can shoot the hoop, win prizes. There's a lot of World Cup stuff up for grabs. Then we've got a lot of our suppliers that's actually going to put up stands where people can take selfies, taste new products. We've got Red Bull here as well. We've got the Castle Corners that's both open. It will be a lovely outing for a family.
Fantastic. And what made you want to put this together? I mean, what was sort of the driving force behind it?
You know what? It was actually to put a lasting legacy for netball. The idea was, it's not to make money, because the big thing is, if we get our 20,000 people that we're hoping for, all of that money, every last cent, is going back to netball to create infrastructure in Gauteng. So we've put together for all our SPAR stores, we've giving netball posts. All those netball posts goes back to Tshwane's netball as well, so that we can create infrastructure for about 60 netball courts. So that is the idea, is to be not only the SPAR Protea sponsor, the Netball World Cup sponsor, but to leave a lasting legacy in South Africa for netball.
I mean, obviously now it's come to the forefront because we've got the Netball World Cup happening at the moment, but you've been involved with netball for a very, very long time. Why netball as a sport as opposed to anything else?
Yes, I think we're almost at 22 years that we've been involved. But the big thing is, SPAR and both Netball South Africa has got the same principle and values. Netball South Africa has got a saying that says, take netball back to the people, and SPAR is all about our communities. So you know what, it makes an excellent combination, because we want to take netball firstly back to the communities. We are in our communities, and that's why the tickets for the fan park is so cheap, because everyone should be able to afford 20 Rand to be part of something that's only going to happen for our lifetime once.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, 20 Rand, as you say, very, very reasonable. And if you want to support the ladies from a distance and watch it with a whole bunch of South Africans, I couldn't think of anything better to do than doing that, because South Africans just have a certain way of bringing the gees, as you say in South Africa. And it's a good warm-up as well for so many of the other sports that are happening in the next coming weeks and months. Then make your way down to the Centurion Supersport Park, 6th of August. As I say, gates open at 9 o'clock. It runs till 6 o'clock, give or take, depending on how things go. And you can be part of the fun. So, Retha Ingenbleek from SPAR, thank you so much for joining me on the SANTON Times Hour.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you there as well, hey?
Yeah, but not in my netball gear, hey?
Online, on air,
Anywhere, anytime.
this is the SANTON Times Hour.
Well, this week I went out and about, and I was invited to the refreshed opening of the Morning Glen Mall, which is in Greater Sandton. And if I get my geography correct, it's sort of bordering Morningside, Gallo Manor, heading towards Rivonia. If you know what I'm talking about, you kind of generally know what area I'm referring to. And to chat to me about this and also some other interesting developments in the retail and shopping space is Sean Oberholzer. He's the retail asset manager at SA Corporate Real Estate. And Sean, thank you so much for taking me around and showing me what you guys have been doing and what you've got planned. To begin, could you tell me a little bit more about what motivated you to do this refresh and this upgrade of a Morning Glen Mall?
Yeah, and thank you. It was really great to have you there. You know, this mall over the last many years has had a couple of redevelopments. It's ideally located in the Gallo Manor region with a great community around us. So there have been some functional issues at the mall post numerous of these redevelopments that we needed to address. And alongside that is, you know, the world's a changing place. Every few years, you do need to refresh a shopping center and keep it relevant to your customers and the community around you. And that kind of motivated us to, you know, address these functional issues. A key one being the access in and out of the mall, some of the parking issues. Alongside that, you know, we went with the aesthetic upgrade just to refresh it and add several new lifestyle amenities to the mall. So that really, you know, that will get us in good stead going forward.
Well, let's talk about those upgrades because I think that's quite fascinating because you've kind of expanded into what used to be the building next door to you, and you've kind of built this this lifestyle area. Is probably the best way of describing it. I mean, there's a lot of active elements to it. There's a family restaurant. There's a market that's coming up. You've got padel courts. You've now also built a beautiful deck overlooking Greater Sandton. Just talk us through some of those new attractions that people can look forward to.
So a key thing was addressing the access point. So we created a new slipway off Calvin Drive onto the upper parking level, which just makes it so much easier now for customers on Calvin Drive to get onto that upper level, which enhances, you know, the retail experience upstairs. Mm-hmm. And likewise downstairs at our main Calvin entrance, which was a bit tight and difficult to navigate, we have broken through the back of what was the old Micah space, created a new parking deck, a road that goes straight through from Calvin onto this new parking deck, as well as widened that access considerably, which makes it more accessible and easy for customers to use. And then, you know, people and customers post-COVID really want experiences. So they want to get out again. We saw COVID, people were cramped up in homes. They really wanted to get out, have some experiences. And there's many retail centers around us, all offering a very similar product. So what our decision, our vision was, we had this amazing location on the hill, which has great views over the whole of Joburg. And that's where we decided to create this lifestyle area, which in effect caters to everybody, from young, old, lots of energy. You can get out there. It's not just a matter of popping out for an hour. You could spend several hours at the mall and not get bored or whatever, alongside your retail experience. So we created 6 new paddle courts. Paddle, you know, is one of the world's fastest growing sports. We have created an urban playground, which deals with a skate park, a parkour course, urban soccer, and that will feature, you know, there'll be a whole lot of various competitions running in that space. That's all downstairs. On the intermediate level, we are creating a bespoke food market that will be opening next month. Very exciting, high-end finishes, some great operators that are going to be in there, and that will operate from Thursday to Sunday. And then upstairs, we've got a Willoway fitness gym facility to meet all your fitness requirements. Golden Tee, which is a first of its kind golf-themed, simulator golf-themed sports bar and restaurant fantastic food, great operators. They've been in the restaurant space for ages, and now add in this golf element to it. And it's not just for golf. Those screens are so interactive and of such high tech that you can go there and watch the rugby in one of these booths on the weekend. And then for the kids, because there's not really anything to do with youngsters in the immediate area, your babies, your toddlers, we've introduced Blueberry Beacon, which, as you saw, is really big. They've got a massive play area, lots of childminders, a lot of entertainment, and that just appeals to the whole family can get out and get to do something.
Yeah.
The kids are well looked after, they're well entertained, lots of energy. Your teenagers can go downstairs and play paddle or play at the urban playground. Mom and dad, whoever the golf is, can go next door and play golf. It's a bit for everyone. And the area is lacking that. There's not really, you'll have to drive through to four ways if you want to really get out to take your kids out somewhere. So it's great. It's something for the community right in the heart of where everyone lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one more property I want to touch on before I let you go is the Coachman's Crossing. I believe that's also part of your portfolio, and there's also been a lot happening there. I mean, if you are one of the parents that goes to Saints, if you drop off your kids there at St. Stidion's, you know that Coachman's Crossing has been seeing quite a bit of construction happening there. What are the plans for that space?
Similarly to Morning Glen, it was time for Coachman's to get a refresh. Fantastic location, great access points. And one of the issues that we needed to address was the different level parking that we had in the mall, which just, detracted a bit from the convenience element of the center. So one of our aims is to fix that parking issue, which I think is going to be fantastic going forward. So it's all on one level, giving the mall a complete refresh. It hasn't had an aesthetic upgrade in many, many years. And I think you'll agree we're starting to look a bit tired. So we're giving a nice aesthetic upgrade. Alongside that is Woolies Foods will be coming into the center. So we'll have a brand new Woolies Foods operating in October. Pick n Pay will be refurbing their store beginning of next year. And we are bringing in quite a few new tenants, new to the Joburg market. They've been in Cape Town. Some have already got a couple of stores in Joburg, but brand new, fresh offerings in the likes of Stud Burgers, Plato Coffee, which you might have seen around, Doe & Co., which is this fantastic little bespoke bakery. Tasco Sweets has already opened. The pharmacy, which is well loved by everyone, they are going to be upgrading as well and are busy with that. Similarly, the hairdresser, Frantic Fringe and Ideal Optical, a typical community convenience tenants that everybody knows, they love them, they go there, they know their customers by name. So that will all be part of the new Coachman's. We're also working on something exciting, a couple of tenants that, we just finalizing those deals, which will take the space where the old SPAR used to be. So really looking forward to that. This refresh and upgrade will be opening beginning of October this year.
Fantastic, man. Well, there you have it. An update on the Morning Glen Mall, the new developments there, as well as Coachman's Crossing. And if you pass there, if you shop there, well, you would have probably already seen some of those developments, and there is more to come. Sean Oberholzer, he's the retail asset manager at SA Corporate Real Estate. Thank you for joining me on the SANDTON Times Hour. We're going to take a quick musical break and more right after this.
Get up, show up, and level up. Make the move and join Virgin Active. You'll score a gym bag, July free, plus activate a world of rewards. Discovery Vitality members get even more. Get started. Call 0860 Get Fit or visit your nearest club. Bag big rewards. virginactive.co.za. T's and C's apply.
The best of SANTON and beyond.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour.
This is the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8, and that was Bob Sinclair featuring Steve Edwards with World Hold On, the Fisher rework. We got one more interview for the hour, and then we call it another week, and then we do it all again next week. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Corene Breedt-Rammutla. She's the CEO and co-founder of a new development called Circle Senior Living, and it's a boutique senior living brand with residences being developed in very upmarket urban locations, including Sandown and Greater Sandton. And Corene joins me on the line to chat about this. Corene, tell me a little bit more about Circle Senior Living. I know I'm not really your target market, so just help me here.
Alex, thank you so much. I always say, you get a group of people that's excited about education or other business developments. For us, we live, we breathe, and we eat and we sleep senior living, a market that's not just growing, but so important for us to actually innovate in the space of senior living. And that's exactly what Circle Senior Living is about. When you mention the word retirement, all that you see on people's faces are dread. Such a dreadful process. People are scared. And at Circle Senior Living, we're really trying to take that dread out of the retirement process, not just by developing beautiful facilities, but also really holding the hands of our future residents and putting things in place to make them comfortable with this next phase in their lives that doesn't just have to be dreadful.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, if you say to me a retirement, which I don't know if I should be happy that I'm far away from it or I should be getting there sooner. But I mean, when people talk about retiring, it's either goes two ways. Either you think of a very stuffy old age home somewhere, where you're sort of left to play backgammon and drink tea and coffee and participate in some activities, or you hear people moving to the other side of the world into the most far removed place where they're almost literally sitting on their own, which often doesn't make much sense, because if you do need medical care or you do need assistance, you're sitting in a town where the next hospital could be 2 or 3 hours away. It doesn't really make much sense.
Exactly. And therefore, Alex, location is so important. And by the way, you can get excited about retiring because there's really beautiful products being created in the market. And I bet you when you come and visit us, you'll see our residents are maybe double our age or 1.5 times our age. And I bet you they're healthier than us. Circle was born because there's a new generation retiree coming to the market, right? So tech savvy, healthy, still wants to add value in their communities. But I don't think there's enough facilities out there and enough innovation in this space. People often ask us, why SANTON? And you've just touched on it, because like the perception is dread and these old age homes, so to speak, or that people want to retire, somewhere remotely where there's no services. And what we have found is that it's exactly the opposite. This new generation older person wants to be within a 5-kilometer radius of where they've always lived. So if you think about Sandown, that's in the heart of Sandton, our why is because we have residents that have always lived in Sandton. They know that area. It's familiar. All they need is a facility that embraces this new phase in their lives, that offers the required care when and if it's needed, but they can still participate and be active members within a community that has served them so well all their lives.
Right. No, absolutely. And I mean, I don't know if the ladies need to start holding on to their pearls right now. I'm not going to be moving there anytime soon. Let's not create too much excitement. But are you building this from scratch? Are you repurposing buildings? I know there's a lot of that happening in Sandton at the moment, where there's sort of office parks or office blocks or other buildings that are now being converted into residential spaces.
For us, the pandemic has really been a blessing in disguise. Our partners was about to build a boutique hotel in Sandown. And obviously, that kind of industry has been affected very much during the pandemic, and it gave us an opportunity. So we've got a little bit of repurpose because we had a shell of a building that was up already, but the process has enabled us to acquire the properties on either side of that property, and that we're building from scratch. So Circle Senior Living from a building perspective is a little bit of a repurpose of what was a current building, but as a brand, I mean, we building buildings literally from scratch, purpose built. It's enabling us to, again, think about the little things, accessibility, technology, making sure that our facilities are overlaid with the necessary redundancies, these very unique South African challenges of ours in terms of load shedding and water shortages. So we can run and make sure that we've got the necessary backups in place for that. So a blessing from that perspective.
Okay. Well, I mean, without reading the whole brochure to us, but give us a bit of a sense of what what the facilities sort of entail? I mean, how old do you have to be to live there? And then what can you expect? I mean, is there a gym? What does it all include?
I wanted to tell you, Alex, you don't have to be retired to come and at least have coffee in our beautiful little restaurant on site. So, you can't really run a beautiful senior living facility without overlaying it with certain services. So yes, we've got a gym, a cinema room, a little pamper spa, obviously a medical and wellness center, a nice restaurant with some good quality food, and you have to be 70 years old to actually buy into the facility. Mm-hmm. But any member of the community are welcome to actually come and join and use the facilities. It's really open to all. The one big difference from a retirement perspective is that the traditional model of retiring is really you move into a facility, you're independent, you're well, you're healthy, and as you are turning as your care needs change, very often you're moving to an assisted part in the estate and then to frail care. And we've turned that a little bit on its head. So we bring the care to your apartment. You never move again. So at our facility, you will expect not to see a frail care, not to see an assisted section. However, you've got a home for life.
Right.
A resident moves into their apartment and all the care and all the services come to them.
Sure. When are you expecting to open your doors?
Our first residents will be sleeping on site in their forever homes, Alex, on the 26th of September.
Okay, incredible. Well, there you have it. That's Corene Breedt-Rammutla, CEO and co-founder of Circle Senior Living, coming to Sandown, and something that, people are living longer, and they're not just living longer, but I think they're living better quality lives longer. And I think this is a trend that we're going to be seeing sort of continuing for the years to come. So, what do they say? 70 is the new 40. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's some sort of analogy
Absolutely.
like that. But Corene, thank you so much for joining me on the SANTON Times Hour.
Thank you so much, Alex.
And that's it for the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 this week, and is always available on your favorite podcast platforms wherever you are in the world. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@santontimes.co.za or connect with us on social media at Santon Times, and visit the website www.santontimes.co.za. And feel free to send through your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your feedback. All of that is welcome. There are tons of emails that I get every single week, so if I don't get a chance to get back to you on each one, please forgive me. But the information is registered, and I try and work through them as fast and as efficiently as possible. And who knows? We might find you on the SANTON Times Hour in the coming weeks and months as we move towards the end of the year. Thank you to all my guests who made the time to be on the show this week, as well as my trusty assistant, Vincenzo. Thank you so much. And also to the SANTON Times team and everyone at Mix 93.8. As always, thank you to you, the listener, for listening. And let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the SANTON Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.